So we'd been working on a few things, doing a bit of this and that, and one day I was talking to Iain about stuff in general, and he said, do you realize there's now a whole generation of young people who probably don't know who James Dean is? That was the starting point of how this came about. And then Iain was like, that'd be an interesting movie. Why don't you have a look at, do some research? I did a lot of research. I came up with this huge amount of information on James Dean's life. And I was telling Iain about it, and I said, there's this one interesting thing here where this photographer went to New York and went back to the farm in Indiana, the guy who took the famous photo of James Dean in the rain in Times Square. And Iain said, that's our story. So from that point on, I was just given great support by Seesaw. In a sense, I was interested in writing a film about male friendship. And the producers said to me, deliver us something that's not boring, that's not a traditional biopic. Explore that as much as you like. I was greatly supported.
In a strange way, I related to this character a lot more than any film I've ever done, because I filmed it right before I went on the press tour for Spider-Man, and there was kind of a lot looming over me in terms of my future, publicity, and what the future was going to bring in terms of my career and fame, really, which is in a big way what James Dean is dealing with in this film. What it means to accomplish your dreams and what the personal sacrifice that comes along with that. In terms of the lingo, it was a different thing, but it's something I also took on. I remember my wife came for pre-production, and she was really annoyed because I kept telling her to just be cool. She was like, why are you telling me to be cool all the time?
Control for me was probably my most emotionally involved film because it dealt with a certain period of my life that I felt really very, very related to the whole story. With this story, I came into it actually through the photographer angle. I thought it was interesting to look at the relation between a photographer and the subject matter, if that subject is in the public eye. I like the underlying theme of the film, about the male friendship and about the photographer and the balance between a photographer and his subject and how delicate that balance is. And I think it's alluded to in the film where Dennis Stock thinks he's doing James Dean a favor and James Dean he thinks he's doing Dennis Stock a favor. And I've been in similar situations. Why I said to Mick Jagger, listen, no.
We see a lot of the things about behind the scenes on the promotional trails in Hollywood back then. And I was just wondering how things have changed, or whether they've changed nowadays, and what is your normal reaction? Is it similar to, Robert and Dane, similar to what James Dean's like in the movie? When people hand you the pamphlet saying, this is what you've got to do.
They never hand you a pamphlet, or I never asked to see it anyway. just put the money on the table and get out. You don't get paid for these.
I concur. It was a different time, studios owned the actors in a way that they would almost just have a roster, of a certain amount of people, and they would own you for years at a time, and you would live on the studio lot, and they would tell you the films you were going to do, and they would be in charge of the image that you were going to project. In that way, I think that in the world we live in today, we have a lot more control over the choices we make. I'm not on a 10-year contract with a studio, and I can make a movie and then I can make my own personal choice for the film that I would like to do next. That wasn't necessarily the case back then. So I think that's the advantage of being an actor today, although it would be really cool to live on a bungalow on a studio.
Really? Yeah.